Hey YouTube, I'm Mrs. Dr. Lupo.
And I'm Sam, and today we're going to be discussing how we fight and resolve those issues.
Hope you guys enjoy the conversation and learn a little bit, but if you want to catch us live every Friday at 8:30 a.m. Pacific on Twitch.
And of course, if you would like more magical content, make sure you like and subscribe over here.
Hi!
Hello!
We're here, it's another Friday, and it's episode 11!
11! Holy heck, that's a double one.
We were so excited last week because it was double digits, and now we're double ones. What's next week? We're going to be like, oh, it's just episode 12. That's
it's just 12.
It's our preteen episode.
That's right, we're almost big kids.
We're almost teenagers, and Mom can't tell us what to do anymore. We're here. I'm cold. You're probably warm because you live in California, but are you ready to start?
No, it's in the 30s right now.
It's in the 30s?
Pretty nippy. Yeah, but it's morning time. It'll warm up for us.
Ugh, shush. I think we get like, well, actually, we might be close to the weather high for you with you today, at least where you are right now. High of 25 today.
Whew, hot dang. Bring out
that
the
means
swim
that
suits.
I only wore a hoodie this morning.
Oh gosh, shall we operate and show that hoodie this morning?
All right, ready, set, go, let's go! Ta-da! Hello.
Hello, friends.
We're here. It's Magic Word, episode 11. We're fighting today.
We are fighting today. Like, we've got our boxing rink. It's here.
I was reading, somebody said, oh, I love that outfit, Sam. And I was like,
oh, thanks.
Dang it, we just, and Cozy has a good hoodie. We just had this conversation about how Sam turns out and she's so cute and I love her for it. And then I'm like,
I love our like opposites though. And it's so perfect for our friendship. Like we think a lot alike, but we just accessorize differently, and that's totally fine.
That's
you
the
can
best
be
part,
different,
though, is that,
be friends.
Yeah, we're so similar in a lot of things, but we are opposite in so many other things. Mm-hmm. But it just works out because, like, why would you want to be best friends with yourself?
I think I'm pretty great. I'm not gonna lie. But
man,
probably get annoyed of me.
How was your week?
My week has been okay. Kept myself pretty busy this week, that's for sure. I have had normal weather. I've been really worried about all of our friends in the polar vortex. You're one of them, but you're a little more acclimated, right? To the weather that's going on. How has that been for you, by the way? Like, has it been extreme?
I mean, it's been cold. We did the instant freeze boiling water thing. Have you seen people do that before?
Yeah, my parents are on a boil advisory. Also, I am loud right now.
Very loud.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I'm speaking so softly too. That's the fun part.
All right. I turned you down. You should be good. And then if you guys are saying, well, she's too soft, and then I'm going to just tell you to be fine. But no, it's, we did the boiling water thing where you throw it out. We didn't throw it above our heads because that terrifies me just in case it doesn't. Right?
Yeah. What if it turns into just like a bunch of icicles?
Or boiling water lands on you.
Whenever you're outside in the cold. Oh, two extremes.
Yeah. But we haven't left the house. This is like the one time that quarantine and COVID has been a positive for us because we're not already leaving the house to go do things. So we can, just snuggle up or whatever. But we had to drip our faucets. We had some family members have pipes that leaked. Thankfully, none of them busted, but that leaked and stuff. So,
jeez,
it was fine. I mean, we're used to it. Our houses are made for it.
Yeah.
That's, I think, the best part, or my favorite part of living in the Midwest and where I live is that the one thing that our houses, I guess two things that our houses are not made for are hurricanes and earthquakes.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, even in the South, we're really not made for hurricanes and tornadoes, but we're silly enough to live there. My parents, like, they haven't had, of course, running water, of course, and they still have gas, and then of course the how many times can I say of course?
We're both having big brain fog days
We
today, just
are, y'all.
FYI.
Please just we're waking up. Good morning. Uh unless you're listening to this way later, we do this in the morning. So, yeah, they've just been under the boil advisory and making sure to keep warm. They have electricity now, but oh my gosh, I've been on TikTok and there's so many videos of people's like homes caving
Yes.
in
I can
from
only imagine.
snow. How terrifying is that? And people are freezing in their own houses.
And there's
Holy
like
cow.
some people that there was one where this like the dad put a like another bucket in the kitchen because it was just running out of their ceiling and everything, and then she walked around to the other
Yeah.
part of the wall and then the whole ceiling fell in just right there, and I was like,
Yeah. Like it's
I can't.
snowing inside of their whole house.
Yeah, I just cannot imagine how horrible that would be. Like what goes through your
Seriously.
brain when that's happening?
Terror. Absolute well, because I mean, that's your safe haven, and now it's gone.
Yeah.
And then not only that, but it's like the roads are so difficult to drive in because 1, you're not equipped for that. There's no salt on the ground. Nobody's really running around with tires and their or tires, chains for their tires in their garage in Texas or the South or anywhere. And so it's like, well, how do I get to the safe spot without endangering myself further? People are dying from like carbon monoxide poisoning
Yeah.
from hanging out in their garages just trying to get warm. It's horrifying, honestly, but thankfully I've heard that a lot of places are getting electricity back, so that's good. But my goodness, for all of y'all that are in that, we feel for you.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Thankfully, like I said, we're our houses are equipped for it. So I think the coldest that we got was like negative upper 20s, maybe low 30s. So
Okay, yeah. Wait, that's so surprising.
like I think at one point we were at negative 28 overnight.
Is that ever normal for y'all? Like, do you
No.
ever get that low?
Mm-mm.
So, okay,
Usually
so that was new.
we'll get into negatives a couple times, but it's like max negative 10 overnight. And then during the day it's like 1 degree or something like that. And that's I mean, going outside today, it was probably about 10 to 12 degrees. And like I said, I was just in a hoodie because as long as there's no wind, I'm so used to it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
No hat, no gloves or anything. I just had tennis shoes and leggings and a sweatshirt on. And I was
it's so
totally
funny.
fine walking around and taking the trash out and stuff like that. Um, it just so it just blows my mind that that things are not acclimated for that. But like I said, we are not
Mhm.
acclimated for hurricanes. And so when we had major flooding a couple of years ago, um like half of Omaha was underwater. And there was the small farms out right outside of the city that are completely gone because the river flooded. And the airport was starting to get flooded and stuff like that too. And so I mean we're not used to stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's just so crazy that, but you know, another topic for another day. But climate change is not a thing, they say.
What do you mean? Did you see that picture on a lighter note of this same scenario? There's a picture of like, you know how everything is like cold in the middle and warmer on the outside, and it's like a pizza roll
Yeah, or a hot pocket.
or a hot pocket. Like the United States look like a hot pocket where it's warm on the outside, but when you bite in, for some reason, it's still cold.
Freezing cold. Yeah, it's so crazy. So I hope that the people like I know that there's some furniture stores in Texas that are opening up their businesses for people that don't have homes. And I
Yeah,
was like, how smart is that? Is you I mean, obviously you have to take your business into account and everything too and be like, just don't sleep on the white mattress or whatever, or like here's a blanket to put on top of it kind of thing. But people sit on them every day anyways.
there you go. Got to utilize it somehow. I'm glad that a lot of businesses were trying to help to the best of their ability because I mean, literally when everyone's in disarray, might as well pull together to make it work. That's usually how it happens during hurricane season when things occur like that. People will bring out their boats and try to drive around, get people off their roofs and help one another to the
Yeah.
best of their ability. The hardest is whenever you want to help your friends by like sending them water or something, but you can't. It's literally nothing's driving right now. So it's been horrifying and seeing friends update that they're like they're okay, but they're like freezing or some have been hurt from, hypothermia and everything. Yeah, I
I
just
was
want to
going
hug
through a thing of
everybody.
pictures, and
Mm.
this is so horrible, but for some reason it just made me slightly giggle.
Oh, what?
Is they were showing pictures, of like the frozen toilets with the water flowing out and like frozen
Mm.
ceiling fans and everything. And then this is so horrible. I don't know why. They showed a frozen fish tank. And for some reason that just made me
Sam, why are you laughing? You're so bad.
I was just like those poor fish, but it's just like, what do you do? You can't do anything to
You
save.
can't.
I think that's the part that made me laugh is that like there was literally nothing that you could do. You can't save them because they gotta pee in water.
Oh my god, that's true. Like, you can't take them out and be like, breathe.
Yeah, exactly. Literally, it's
Uh,
literally like, what do you do?
it's like suffocating. That's basically what it is. It's
I
suffocation
know.
for
And I think
fish.
it's like an uncomfortable laugh. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, that's
Yeah.
hilarious. But it's literally like a helpless, yeah,
What do
like you
you
can't
do?
boil them, right? You can't put them in
No,
warm
well, I
water
mean,
because
you
then you'll
can.
cook them.
Yeah, but he's just gonna have to eat them after.
And nobody wants to eat cooked goldfish. Like,
Oh, no, no, no.
so it's just one of those things that I was busting up laughing so hard. I felt really bad. But it was just one of those things like, what do? You can't do anything.
Yeah.
There's literally
Oh
not an answer to this.
there was one video. I saw this girl. She was like, there's 7 floors of this parking garage. The entire parking lot is completely empty. And of course, where my car is in this one spot, this pipe decided to leak and her car is covered.
Oh no.
I know, she's like, out of everything, it happened to mine. That's
Oh
also
man,
one of
that'd be
those
another
like,
one of those situations. I wouldn't know what to do. I would just start cry laughing.
yeah,
I'd just be like, I don't
I
know.
know. How
What do
how do you
we do?
handle that? You just wait till it thaws? What kind of damage would that do to your car?
Oh, I mean, it would ruin my car.
Yeah.
I mean, my car handles the snow really well.
Mhm.
But the cold, obviously, like the battery is consistently running, and so to keep the car warm, so that way the car can start up. So I never have to worry
Yeah.
about my car not starting because it's so cold, because my car keeps it at a minimum temperature. But it also then drains the battery faster because it's having to do that. But I can't just leave it plugged in because then it's going to negatively affect the battery overall by draining, charging, draining, charging, draining, charging. So I have to be like, all right, tomorrow I'm gonna go somewhere and check how much my
Yeah.
battery is, and then plug it in the night before so that way it's charged by the morning, and then be okay and ready to go.
I can't imagine. There's always parts of me that whenever I see snow and stuff, I'm like, man, I wish we were in the polar vortex. I want some snow.
You want to go
And then I
sledding
see
with
like,
me?
yeah, and then I see the horror, and I'm just like, oh. Yeah, maybe I'll enjoy my 70 degrees today.
Yeah, exactly. You enjoy your 70 degrees, and I will enjoy, just being temporarily cold
There you go.
and then being okay. So,
As long as you're okay in the end. Sorry, we digress. This is not at all what we were talking about. We're just, vibing with y'all this morning, doing a little chit
I
chat.
got my tea and I'm happy. And honestly, this is we've switched the show around for current events before. This is something that obviously needs to be talked about in some
Yeah.
aspect, whether it's talking about frozen fish tanks or not.
Oh, this poor fish.
But yeah, there was one thing that we wanted to do before we started that Sam brought up as something fun to do together.
Yeah.
Is if you guys have followed me on Instagram, you know that I have shared this deck. It's called the Inquire Within deck for over a year, and I finally
She got it.
with the
About
encouragement from
time.
Sam when I was telling her about it, and she's like, "Why didn't you just buy it?" Like,
Like, that's one of those moments where, I could tell Sam was fighting with herself because she doesn't like to spend money, especially on her. But you've been wanting it for so long. You constantly talk and look about it, and just like, Sam, do it.
It was like getting to the annoying stage,
Do
right?
it.
I would talk
And
about it
now
so
look at
often.
you. I can see you just beaming about it. Like, that's
Yeah.
so important. I'm glad that you got it.
I cried when I opened it up. But it is, let me grab the website really quick. It's called the Inquire Within card deck from Worthwhile Paper.
Mm.
Here it is. And it's just completely gorgeous. But
It's
what
so pretty.
the way that I'm using it, I'm not using it like as tarot.
Mm.
Because I don't really believe in that kind of stuff. And I also, we've talked before, I don't really do the whole affirmations and gratitude journals and stuff like that. But I do like something that gives you an opportunity to think and change the way that you perceive things.
Yeah.
Um, and that is kind of how I'm taking this. So basically, it's gorgeous for one. It's got like glittery gold on the side, and then it has all these different thought-provoking type things. And so we decided that each Friday morning, we are going to draw one. And as a chat, we can kind of see how it makes us feel and how we can maybe take that into our week or into your day. And
Yeah.
so, usually when you draw cards, do you shuffle and then take the top one? Do you fan them out and grab? What do you do?
I don't really mess with cards much unless it's like Uno where you take from the top.
Well, then I'm
So,
going to shuffle and we're going to take it from the top.
okay.
All right, ready?
Let's do it. What do we got?
This one is notice predictable rhythms. I'm backward here. Hold on. We're going to go to the guest real quick. Notice predictable rhythms is what our card for the day or the week is going to be. So, how do you feel like that would be something that you could put into your life the week?
Notice predictable rhythms. I mean, is that just like things that you are accustomed to doing? Is that stuff that is already in your life? Like, you wake up, open your windows, you go to the bathroom first. You
I think it would be things
I
that
don't
you
know.
don't necessarily are actively being involved with. So, do you notice a predictable rhythm that if you eat something before bed and then you wake up and you just feel blah?
Ah.
Or do you notice that when you do yoga during the day, the rest of your day, like you don't have pain when you're done
There
with
you
work
go.
or something like that?
Yeah,
That's how
no,
I would take it
that is
because
true.
that's predictable, right? You can predict that that if you had a bowl of cereal right before bed, you're going to wake up with a brick in your stomach.
Or
And
it's like if you chug a bunch of water before bed, you're never gonna wake up at like 3 a.m. to go pee and get uncomfy. It
yeah.
happens sometimes.
So yeah, cause and effect, I think. The volume levels are reversed on this stream. Well,
What's a podcast without issues?
I don't know why. Like I'm turned all the way up. Literally all the way up in OBS. And we're hitting it about the same spot.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm going back to the other one because we know that one's fine. Is this one okay?
Are we okay here? We can cut this out.
You guys, we sound fine. Thank you.
Both are fine? Okay.
Anyways, backwards. Notice predictable rhythms. So I think how I would go about it is deciding whether or not I
I mean, it definitely. Oh, go ahead.
I think that I would just kind of think about my day, and when I notice how I feel, and I'm like, this feels really good, or this feels really off. Is it something that is just like a one-off thing, or is it something that I'm doing to myself?
That makes sense. That could definitely coincide with like whenever I get on social media. I know if I see something bad, it's gonna make me feel horrible.
Yeah.
So why do I do it? You know? But I know whenever I miss a day of yoga, I feel it. Like my bones are just creaking a little bit more the rest of that day. Or mentally I'm just like I'm feeling funky because I didn't start my day like getting it all out. So I guess it's honestly a motivator to pay more attention to those things and encourage healthier habits in a sense that do predict good outcomes.
Yeah. I think that's,
Um,
and I guess that's kind of why I like this deck too, because some of the things, they're not super obvious, right?
yeah, that makes you think.
Yeah. So this week, notice your predictable rhythms. What are things that are naturally occurring in your life
Mm,
that, and then like recognize whether they're positive or negative in your day to day.
yeah,
The end. I'm
well,
going to put it up. I've been putting them
that's
up
a
where like
good
I see
thing.
them each day
Yeah,
too.
so we can start that every week and just have a little chat about that with you guys.
Here
That
we go.
was really fun. I like that. Well, what are we actually supposed to be
I
talking
know.
about
So
today,
far, let's
Sam?
see. We've been here for 30 minutes and we haven't even talked about.
That's okay. It's a good babble. We don't have to follow every little line, and we're just having fun.
Yeah. So last week we talked about love.
Love languages.
How was your Valentine's Day, by the way?
It was good. It was good. We just woke up and kind of chilled together. We went to church, and then we went home. Had a blast.
The end.
The end. It was another Sunday.
Um,
Had
yeah,
chocolate though. There you
we didn't really do much either.
go.
It
Yeah.
was just another day. We got a cake because it sounded fun.
Mhm.
Have
Oh
you ever
yeah,
bought a cake just to buy
you
a
talked
cake?
about that.
Yeah, it was really good. I
Good.
still have a little slice left. I don't know if it's good anymore because it's like a week old now, but
Salvage it.
we will have to see. And but in that we discovered when we were talking about the 5 love languages quiz that there was
Mhm.
also an anger and an apology quiz, and we're like, mind's blown. Let's continue
Yeah.
talking about that because we already said that we were going to come back and talk about what our answers to those quizzes were going to be. So why not just make a show about it? So
That's
today
right.
we're fighting,
We're
and we're going to be
fighting.
talking about anger and apologies and kind of how we handle those, and a little bit about toxicity in your life and stuff like that. Again, we are not
Yeah.
here to teach you. We're literally here to just talk, girl to girl, girl to guy, guy to guy, whatever, people to people, and about kind of our experiences. And yeah, here we go.
There we go.
There
So
we go.
there's
So
five. There's five is there yes. There's just like there's five love languages.
there's five
There's five
apology languages.
apology languages. Yeah. And do you want to list the list of them?
Yep.
I need to find
I'll
my
list them
list.
out, and then I found one that gave like a sentence example
Oh, perfect. Okay.
of each one because some of them were like, we don't know what this means. um, so the number one is expressing regret or saying, I feel ashamed for how I hurt you. Number two is accepting responsibility. I was wrong for doing that to you. Number
Mhm.
three is genuinely repent. I can only imagine how much pain I caused. I am so sorry. I won't do that again. Next time I will do blank differently. Four is making restitution. This is how I will make it up to you. And five is requesting forgiveness. Will you forgive me for letting you down? What was your number one?
So my number one was expressing regret, but it was very, very, very close to the I already forgot the list. Can you give me a link? I need the same list
Let me
somewhere.
put it. This is from Cosmo because it was the only one that I could find that like gave good solid examples.
Okay, what was the other one? Oh yeah, accepting responsibility. So those were like pretty close to me, and honestly, they really are practically the same thing. Like I want to hear I'm sorry, but then I also want to hear why you are sorry.
Right.
Like tell me why you're sorry, and not just I'm sorry for that. What's that? Like accept it, own up to it. So I feel like most of these honestly are just one big thing, and it's like a process of somebody's apology.
Yeah.
So
Have to sneeze.
do it.
But Maddie said,
Peanut
yeah,
butter.
these sound like steps, and I think that
Yes.
they definitely are. Um, but at the same time, I personally would not want to hear over half of these.
Same. I don't want to hear you asking for forgiveness. I will determine that on my own. Not only that, and I was telling Sam this earlier, is that what makes you feel like you're put on the spot and have to forgive somebody?
Yeah,
And it's like, no, 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 don't do that to somebody. Let them determine this. By first off, hopefully letting them know why you were wrong and why you would want to be forgiven, and then work toward bettering yourself to not go through that again.
yeah. My number one was accepting responsibility, and
Mm.
that's 100%. That's all I want people to do. Is I
Mhm.
want them to say, "I'm sorry, I was wrong," and
Yeah.
that's it. They don't have to say anything more. They can literally say, "I'm sorry, I was wrong." 5 words, and that's fine. And then obviously, depending on the severity of um of the transaction or the situation or whatever, um then there'll be a little bit extra stuff after that that needs to be figured out or discovered, or time to be taken. But I definitely, the I feel ashamed for how I hurt you. Well, good, you should. Like, I already
Yeah.
expect you, if you're apologizing, you better feel ashamed. I don't need to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah. This one is a little different than just like the five love languages, which are pretty separate.
Yeah.
These are all right on top of each other, except for the forgiveness one. That's the only one that I'm just like, I could do without that.
Yeah.
I will
And then
determine that. Do not ask me.
genuinely repenting. I can only imagine how much pain I caused. I am so sorry. I won't do that again. Next time I will do blank differently. That's just talking too much. That almost
Mhm.
feels like you are making an excuse to me.
Yeah, it's almost like, and I'm sorry, but
Yeah. That kind of,
no.
yeah. And I don't know. I don't need that person to be like, I can only imagine how much pain I caused. No, you probably don't know. Right? Like, if this was a situation, you probably don't know how much pain you caused. And that's
Yeah.
fine. You don't need to know. You just need to know that pain was caused.
Yeah, and you need to own up to it.
Yeah.
And
This
say
is
sorry.
how I'll make it up to you. No, I don't need that. I don't need, for me at least, I don't need the opportunity for promises to be broken.
Same.
I just need it to be proven in day-to-day life.
Same.
So if it's like, oh my gosh, I told, if a friend was supposed to meet me for dinner and they forgot, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I forgot to meet you for dinner. I was whatever, whatever, whatever. I'll take you out next week. And I'll be like, no.
Mm.
I don't need that thing sitting on my shoulder as like looking forward to this awkward situation where you're trying to make up something where you messed up.
Yeah.
You just need to not do it again. It will naturally occur that we go out to dinner again.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely feel like if somebody had messed up, um, I would want. I don't mind longer apologies as long as it's not talking in circles or trying to put blame on me for what they did.
Hmm.
So that's my most aggravating thing, is when it's trying to be twisted to be like, well, you did this and that's why it made me do this. Like, own up to what you did, and I can figure out where I went wrong too, or how I could have also handled to keep this from happening as
Yeah.
well.
Or own up to it and then talk and
Mhm.
be like, I reacted this way. I'm so sorry I reacted this way. I just want to let you know though that when you did this, it made me feel,
Oh my gosh, made me
keyword,
feel, sir.
feel.
Mhm.
Because then all rules are out the window, because nobody can tell you how to feel.
Yes.
So instead of being like, you did this, well, maybe you didn't. And that's not part of the situation. It's like, you made me feel when this happened. And then now it's like opens up to this conversation. The
Yeah,
last
and I
one
love
was
that's not.
requesting forgiveness. Hate that.
Yeah,
No.
hate that one. I don't want that. want
I don't
nothing to
want
do with that
the
one.
to be put on the spot to let you know whether or not I can forgive you.
That's
Um,
uncomfortable.
yeah, it will just naturally happen. I hate when people are like, "Will you ever forgive me?" I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably.
That's
But
also
right
like a
now, no.
it's like a taking away from the fact that, like, say I hurt you, and I'm asking, like, will you forgive me? That's me taking away from the pain that I caused you, because now I'm victimizing myself in a way. And I'm just like, well, now I'm hurting. Like, will you please,
Yeah.
forgive me? And it's just like, that's uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable. Just think
So we are
about that.
definitely obviously not saying that this is perfect. These
No.
apology
And we're just
languages are
talking about
perfect,
how we think.
but they definitely open up a good conversation about how you expect apologies. Maybe you don't know. Maybe you don't you have a hard time taking apologies or forgiving people because you don't know
Yeah.
how to. I mean, there's so many times that I would want somebody to do this grand gesture to apologize for something, but then when it happens, I'm like, oh no, this is so weird. Like
Yeah.
these flowers that you brought me seem tainted now because you messed up, and I will always look at at red roses now and remember the time that you tainted them because you missed
How dare
taking me
you?
out for a date or something. I
Also,
don't know.
also to touch back on like the forgive thing, uh asking for forgiveness is a little icky, but maybe saying like, I hope you can forgive me.
Right.
That's a little different, because then it's not like putting that much pressure. And it's just letting you know, like, hey, I am really sorry. And I do hope that you can forgive me for that. But yeah.
Somebody said,
Yeah.
would an apology with "I'll try to do better next time" be something that you would like to hear, or not needed? Not needed for me.
Um like I
Expected.
wouldn't mind hearing it, but yeah, it's kind of expected for me too. If you're genuinely apologizing, and owning up to your mistake, then I just hope that that is in your head, saying like, "Hey, I'm going to fix this,"
Yeah.
without needing to say like, "I'm going to fix this." Uh, but it's not like a write off for me.
Yeah. I want to apologies in, situations where you are in disagreements or somebody's hurt or you're both hurt. It's just so awkward in the first place
Mm,
that I just kind of want it to be hashed out and done. And then you just move on with the healing part,
yes,
no matter the severity.
yeah. I don't like to hold on to things, but I am very patient in how I respond.
Yeah. So the other quiz that we took was the anger quiz.
Mhm.
Fine. Let me grab this one. And this one was just like a stoplight, basically.
Yeah, and this one was really, really quick, so anybody can take
Yeah. If
this
you
one as
guys, you
like
can
a
even
heads.
start taking it now and then come back to us in 2 minutes, and we will know
Yeah,
exactly. We'll still be here in this
there you
conversation.
are.
An
Yeah.
angie quiz.
The anger quiz was it doesn't give you like a super elaborate answer. It'll just tell you like where you kind of are and how you handle your anger.
Yeah.
And
Let
it
me
also
read
just
mine.
kind of reveals that to you. Oh yeah, go ahead and read which one you got. Let me see if I can pull
I have
mine
to find it on my desktop. I
up.
honestly think it's behind the screen that you're on, and so that might jack it up.
You got this.
Maybe.
But I'm glad that there are these like little quizzes, and even though they're not like the tell all end all of who you are and how you react to things, it's kind of interesting to see a little bit of where you are and how
Right.
you do react to things and what might be something you relate to,
It's
or that you can explain to somebody.
it's very much like an internal processing kind of thing. So
Yeah.
you could get green. You can't see the green or the yellow because I'm on a green screen. But you can get either green, yellow, or red. And I got yellow. You are doing well, but can improve. I
Is
know
there like an
this about
elaborate
myself.
answer?
It says your results are indicative, right? Indicative. Anyway,
Indicative.
indicative of someone who likely handles your anger well in many situations, but there are still times when your anger is handling you. Recognize the areas where you are doing well in handling your anger, but also be cautious that your anger is not getting out of hand in other ways. Think about the situations where your anger comes out most often. Is it with loved
Mhm.
ones, at work? What happens when you react angrily? Are you a shouter or do you turn your anger inward? What words do you tend to use? What feelings
Oh,
tend to come out when you're angry? And how do those feelings find expression in good ways or bad? So I have a feeling most people are going to be yellow, but you weren't.
no, I wasn't. Um, which is honestly not too surprising to me. I ended up getting green. Um, I know I'm very patient, and I'm also very slow to anger. So mine says you know how to handle your anger. Your responses indicate that you generally have a good handle on your anger. You are likely aware of what makes you angry and tend to be intentional in processing your feelings of anger. You likely don't experience too many difficulties from anger related issues in your personal or professional life. There's always room for improvement, however, which is true. Like it's like in a situation, like if somebody, hurt me and I am needing an apology and I've gotten an apology, I won't respond right away. Or even in a situation where they're coming at me, I will step away, because I choose my battles and I also know where my brain will go. And I need time to formulate responses, because I don't want to come from a place of hurt ever, because I know that that can make things really, really rough. Now, there are moments where, like, very few, but there are moments, and it's usually just in my household where I'm just like, oh, why aren't the dishes done? Because then I'm a little frustrated. I'm just like, asked a million times. So, like little things like that. But in big situations, I'm very, very, very slow to anger. But that's why I usually don't have many issues with anybody ever. And when I do have an issue, I'm just like, where did this issue come from? I don't feel that way.
Do you feel like you handle situations quickly or do you not recognize them until they explode?
No, I handle them very quickly. I even though I am non-confrontational, I also don't want to hold on to anything. So like I will if it's something that needs to be handled because I am then dwelling on it, I'm just like, hey, can we talk? And then I talk it out. So because then it also helps ease any chances of an explosion. And if there is an explosion, then on that side, that's no longer my fault. Like that I did what I could and now it's up to the other party to handle what's going on with them.
Yeah. Have we ever had a situation where we've
No, I love you.
I'm trying to think.
I could
Like,
never.
I'm sure there's been situations like where we frustrated each other in the moment, but it was just more like, why did you do
Maybe.
that? Like, but it's done now. But
Yeah.
I can't think of anything though. I
I
don't
really can't either. I don't think I've
know.
fought really with any of my best friends. Like actually like enough anger. Because we just talk. Like that's what best friends do. You just kind of chat. You're like,
Right?
hey.
Um, I feel like I sit and contemplate. I'm very strategic with my
Same.
anger.
Yes.
Um, where even though I might be, let's say we're at a green where, everything's chill and a yellow and I might be inching towards red with being angry at somebody, I'll still sit and kind of see if the person recognizes it first. And that's
Oh yeah.
probably a really bad thing that I do. I admit that. But I will sit there and be like, do you think that they realize that they hurt me? And if after, whatever is a relatable amount of time for that situation,
Mhm.
nothing comes of it, then I'll be like, all right, is it really worth holding on to this grudge or is it just a situational thing? And then if it's just a situational thing, I'll sometimes bring it up and sometimes I don't and I just move on and I kind of handle that anger internally.
Yeah.
If it feels like a purposeful thing, then I bring it up to the person. So I guess I don't confront anger a lot, um, because most of the time I just decide that it's not worth to be angry about if it's like a one-off or situational thing.
Mhm.
If it's a continuous thing, then I'm like, well, screw that. Or, I mean, I
Yeah,
guess it depends on who it's coming from too, right?
that's true. Yeah, it's always difficult depending on the situation, but if you're going through something with somebody constantly that maybe you're not on the same page, then it makes you rethink and you're like, what is going? Is it me or is it them? Or is this just not a compatible relationship?
Yeah. Have you
So,
had I feel like it's the hardest to have that kind of conversation with friends than it is with
yeah.
significant others. There's like this some weird sense in me that if I have a disagreement with a friend, then everything just blows up and they go away.
Yeah, I if I ever have a disagreement with a friend, I need to, like I said, I have to take my time. I have to formulate a response. And I will let them know like how I am feeling in the situation or what was done that has, unfortunately caused me to have to say the things I have to say. I'm very stern when I need to be that way with a friend. And I will also say things to the point where I have come to terms that I am okay with losing you. As much as it would hurt, but if I don't get that stuff out, then I'm just holding it in again for another opportunity. So that's where I am with like I'm not angry about it, but I'm just letting you know like the straw is very short right now.
I
So,
feel like if you were angry with me, then
mm.
it would be more like I'm in trouble at school kind of angry, like very calm but emotionless. Is that how you
Uh,
express your anger?
I'm like a teacher that
Yeah.
like your favorite teacher and you're like, "Oh my gosh, Miss Sam's the best." And then like you do something bad, I'm just like
And I feel like you would just be like, "Hey, so I just want
I
to
come at
let you
things
know
calm
that."
but plainly.
Yeah, and that your tone of voice would just be like low and drawn out. And me on the other hand, I either get really loud.
Do you?
Um
Yell
yeah.
at me, Sam. Let me hear it.
Yeah. Or I say my piece and go silent.
Yeah, I'm a
And
def
that's it. And I'm
I
not open for discussion at that moment.
Mhm.
Um I've only ever gotten, I don't want to say physically violent because I've never gotten physically violent with anybody. But like, the point of pushing over a chair because I'm frustrated or mad, I've only ever gotten that way like maybe twice,
Mhm.
where a situation was so bad that either in the moment or as I'm exiting the moment, a chair went down.
The moment that somebody like tries to come at me for things that aren't even in the argument, like if they start like if I were to attack your character or something like that, that's when I exit a conversation. I'm like, no, you're not somebody that I can talk to at this point. Um, don't ever attack somebody's character. Things can be improved, and you can have a discussion about how things were handled. But
I
if I'm just like, Sam, you're so mad and you don't know how to handle things, and it's so stupid, and you're just like, what?
Coming from you, I would definitely be what?
I probably
But
like,
yeah,
wait.
I don't know. I honestly feel like if anybody's upset with me, that they are attacking my character. And
Mm,
that's
and
like an internal thing. That if you're like, hey, I'm upset because you didn't take all the time you could to write tomorrow's show, I'd be like, well, you don't know what's been going on. Like that's how I would be. I might not
yeah.
express it, but that's how internally I would process through that situation. And I have done so many of the write the letters but don't send them. I've done a ton of like scribble pages. If you
Mm.
ever, whenever you're frustrated, you just take a marker, a pen, or a crayon, and you just circle and circle and circle.
Oh, I've
Um,
never done that.
oh yeah, it's one of the best therapies for me. Is that if I'm frustrated, I take a piece of paper and I just grab all of the colors, pick all the colors that are how I feel, and then I
Mhm.
just make a big bloody mess of colors that turn brown and
Love
all this
that.
kind of stuff. It just That's just how I have to get it out.
Well, good. I mean, at least that's a healthier outlet for you. Wait, so how many things have you written to me and erased?
None actually. Don't worry.
Damn.
Don't worry. Surprisingly, and not surprisingly, but like, we're people, right? We should occasionally disagree on things, but because I feel like we're fairly well mannered adults, we just talk about it.
I know. I feel like my patience really helps me in a lot of situations. But I will say, like, it does get me in a lot of trouble because then I'm also not noticing that somebody is frustrated with me or why they're frustrated because I'm just like, well, I'm not frustrated with you. I'm fine. What's happening? Like
Because
I
maybe
just
something isn't as big to you as it is to them.
yeah, and maybe it could be like the way that I joke or something and it upset up somebody. But in the end, I need somebody to come to me and say that. Don't let it build up because then that's not fair to me. That's not
Right.
fair at all.
I definitely am known to let stuff slide and then build up, and then I go back to it, like in that conversation.
Oh.
And I don't know. I don't know what created my anger reactions. I don't know. I saw my parents fight a lot. Um
Mm.
and experienced a lot of hurt with that. And so I think that I just try to protect myself in a little bubble. And so when
Yeah,
people hurt me, I'm pissed because they got through my little barrier gate that I put
yeah,
around me,
your little
kind of
protection
thing.
orb. My parents were the same way. They argued a lot. They still argue a lot. Um, and I feel like watching that made me like the opposite. I constantly tell myself I don't want to be that way with my spouse. I don't want to be that way in front of my son. I don't want to be that way towards people I love. And so I just kind of disciplined myself to think. I'm a big thinker. Maybe it's the Ravenclaw in me. I'm big into analytically thinking about situations before responding. Uh, and I will mull it over in my head for a moment. And like even if I do have to type something out to somebody, I'll erase, reword, finagle some paragraphs just to make sure that I'm getting everything across properly because I don't want anything to be misconstrued. So it just thanks, mom and dad.
What how do you guys handle you and Dak handle arguing? Or I feel like there's a big difference between arguing and fighting. Arguing is like, why didn't you do the dishes? I asked you to,
Yeah.
be that's more like in frustration. And
Mhm.
fighting is more centered in just pure anger. How do you guys handle that with your son?
We try not to do anything in front of Leif. Uh, I will say that Eric has never raised his voice at me. Not once. We've never like super fought. I have raised my voice at him probably like 3 times in 10 years. And they're all because of very like serious things that were going on between us. But we got over them. So I'm more of a hey, can we talk about this kind of person. Now there are moments where I may say like a shady remark, and I'm just like, because I'm just kind of frustrated.
We love
And
passive aggressive anger.
we do, and like he'll pick up on it, and then he rolls his eyes, and I'm just like, why'd you roll your eyes? So like we have our little debacles. But we never have full blown like arguments or anything. We always have discussions. We're very big on discussions. Um, because I mean, well, okay, more like I'm big on discussions, he's big on listening. because he doesn't like to talk much. And then I'm like, "Can you respond to this?" And he's like, "I don't know what to respond. I'm just listening." And I'm like, "Well, I need a listener, but I also need to talk."
I need someone to actually like say something.
Yeah, like, "I'm not right, right? Like, tell me I'm wrong so that I can work on me." But and then he'll be like, "No, but you are right." And then I'm like, "No, that's not what I wanna hear. Don't tell me I'm right." Now I feel like you're trying to end the conversation.
Exactly. Oh my gosh.
Turning into what it's not. Sorry, Eric.
This is what you get
But
for yeah. That we are similar with Charlie. We will have discussions in front of him
Mhm,
uh where it more or less talks about responsibility. So if Ben asked me to do the cat litter and I didn't during the day, then he comes upstairs, he's like, "Hey, why didn't the cat litter get done?" And I'd be like, "Oh, I totally forgot,"
mhm.
or I just didn't do it or whatever. And then we'll have that discussion there about
Yeah,
how it makes Ben feel coming up from work. And then he just sees the cat litter not done. And we'll have like stuff like that in front of Charlie. But when it's a serious thing that isn't going to be just squashed in the matter of minutes, it's one of those things that we will, kind of save face until it's time, which is also not fun because you don't want your kid to really feel like something's going on. I mean, my parents were really bad at hiding that. And so I just constantly as a kid felt like I was in this storm of tension.
yeah,
And so we try our best to find things to do that we can still interact with Charlie, but for the moment being we don't have to interact with each other
yes.
until we're able to. So we're like, let's watch a movie tonight.
Let's do something with us happily.
Yeah. You just, be here in your little old, love bubble between mom and dad, and
Mhm.
that's okay.
Let us love you. Uh,
um, where is your breaking point when you feel like the situation is occurred enough or the person has hurt enough that something needs to make a big change?
when my character's attacked. For sure, and that's when I'm at the point of I'm okay with cutting ties. I will tell you exactly what you need to hear from me and take that as you will. You can take it offensively or you can take it as a learning opportunity. Um, that's it. I'm very forgiving. I'm very, very merciful. And a lot of times that gets me stepped on because I'll forgive you. And even if like that is my breaking point, I'm still going to forgive you, but it now it's very arm's length. And I don't know how much you're going to be in my life. We may not be as close because I feel disrespected. Um, or something like that. It's more so I forgive what you did, but I cannot forget what you did. And that's where that like the language of show me actions. I don't want to just hear words now. I want you to show me that you are becoming a better person. Because then maybe we could be potentially close again, or we could work in a better step toward this in our friendship, or like my marriage, in our marriage, like in different situations. So thankfully, I don't really ever have many issues at all with people in my life because I have learned over time who to keep in my life. Um, and if there is a problem with people in my life, I just hope that they take care of them too, because a lot of it stems from what's going on in their lives. And I'm also very aware that things could be coming from a different angle, not because they mean it that way, but their delivery is just poor. So delivery is always fine.
I always remember in my head that if someone's being mean to you,
Mhm.
then it's probably because they're just having a bad day, bad life.
Yeah,
I mean, it can stem to literally their life is just crappy
yeah,
and they want other people to feel as crappy as they are. And that's kind of how
mm,
I look at like internet trolls and stuff like that.
yes. Oh,
I'll very rarely, I almost said never, but I'll very rarely engage with them. pretty much only time that I do is if they attack Charlie.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, anything dealing with that, I will roast them,
Yeah.
and then block them. I'll give Ben their name and he'll go and attack them too. And then Ben's whole drove of people on the line go and attack them too. And in that situation, yeah, I don't care. And that's where my anger, I cannot control that. When
Mhm.
they
I
when
mean,
they
that's just
attack
getting a
my
little
kid,
spicy.
yeah, I am a wolf and I will tear you apart.
Yeah, same. I didn't add that part, but also I will go at you for life.
Yeah. There's just certain
Yes.
things that you don't do, right? You
Yeah.
just don't come after somebody's kids. But I thankfully have only ever had to remove a couple people with that didn't just disappear. Right? You just have those friends that kind of just disappear and you're okay with it and they're okay with it. And obviously you just really weren't friends in the first place. um only ever had two. One I had the conversation with, and that conversation went very badly.
Oh.
They did not take it well, and it turned into this whole them trying to attack my character continually because they were hurt and all this kind of stuff. And so uh, the second one I just don't talk to. And they show up like once a year. And I am cordial, and then I just stop texting back. And when they tell me that that they want to hang out, and I'm like, I'm busy forever.
For my calendar, I'm gonna be sick that day, actually.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. In
turns
6 months,
out
I'll probably, I don't know, I might be on Mars. Who knows? Technology's
we don't
great. We might, you
do
never know.
things.
um and I know that's not healthy and it's not fair to the other person either. But it wasn't until I was an adult that I realized my whole entire life this person took advantage of me
Mm,
and controlled me, and they might have had good intentions buried in there, but everything else that happened from, I'm talking like elementary school on.
oh wow.
And it wasn't until about 6 years ago, maybe, that it all just kind of hit me. And I told my parents, I told Ben, and and it was just a situation that I was like, I don't want to talk to him anymore.
Mhm.
And they're like, okay, so are you gonna tell them? I'm like, no, I literally just don't want to talk to them anymore. I have a small handful of like really happy memories with them, but I have a larger handful of things that just make me feel like an icky person and a horrible person, for allowing that kind of stuff to happen. And then, you go into victim shaming and all that kind of stuff. And so
Yeah.
it just, for me, it was just easier just to stop. And like I said, once a year they show up ish. And I'm like, oh, cool, that's great. Here's a little catch up on how I'm doing. Okay, cool. See you later.
I do have one friendship like that as well, so don't worry, you're not alone. It's just one of those people that are really hard to break. Cause I don't know. I feel like I hold on to the good that was, even though it's not there anymore.
Yeah.
So I wish them the best. And that's it. Just kind
Yeah.
of distanced myself over time.
And it's just like I had to really sit there and go through my head and be like, is it worth like taking the scissors and cutting the strings?
Mhm.
Or are they eventually just going to, get weak enough that they just break on their own, and that's fine. And because I don't think that if I went to the person and was just like, hey, blah, 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 word vomit from, 22 multiple decades worth of stuff,
Yeah.
I don't think they would be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize. I don't know if I'd be able to forgive them.
Yeah, same.
Granted, I don't think anything was ever done maliciously on purpose, but it just like,
It's
I
too
just,
much
yeah,
of a
just
good
never felt
thing.
good. And there's multiple times I would go to them for help, and I came out feeling worse. And so I think that I would rather protect myself than than consider their feelings in this situation. And I think that's
Yeah,
okay sometimes to do
yeah,
when you're in an anger situation, is protecting yourself first until you're capable of handling it.
yeah. I absolutely agree with that. I I mean, it's just like anything in life. Too much of a good thing, even if it was a good memory and friendship at some point, it can become toxic. Even if nothing was inherently done wrong, uh, you're you mature differently. Some of us grow differently. Like I don't relate to a lot of my friends in the South anymore. Were they ever bad to me? No. We don't vibe.
Yeah.
Like I have different thoughts now on certain situations. Um and does it suck? Yeah, because I still like love who they are, but I know any conversation we have is going to be toxic. So I don't know. Those are those situations where maybe you just don't have the talk. You just know that you're not going to get anywhere with it.
Yeah.
So
How do you
it's
handle anger and arguments and apologies? How do you handle our topic for today with family members?
um I get quiet. Anytime a family member wants to say something that I absolutely disagree with, I don't fight. I don't fight. Um and so like a lot of times in my family, we've learned that the person who's yelling the loudest is the one that's right. And so I get quiet and I let them yell. I nod my head and I walk away. That's it. I don't add to the argument. I refuse. Because at that point, I know I'm quieter and I'm just going to get yelled over and I will never get anything out.
Hmm.
So until they're ready to talk to me, I will just smile and nod and let them get out whatever it is that they need to say because obviously they need it to be heard. Um, and then if they ask what's going on in my head, then I'll say something. But most of the time, I won't. I'll just be like, okay, nice. Does that get anywhere? No, that's a toxic trait that I have, but I'm protecting myself in the end. And those are moments where I need to protect me,
Yeah.
especially with family because that's my blood, and I don't want to have ill feelings toward them. And I'm totally fine with not having to be heard by my family. Like I'm come to terms with that. It's not something that I dwell on and it's just like, well, I didn't get heard or whatever. But now if I usually go to them and I'm just like, hey, can I say something or can I talk to you? Then most of the time they'll listen. It's just whenever there's a one-upping situation, then I also check out and I'm like, okay. Then I walk away.
I have some family members that I only will talk to if I'm in a room with them.
Yes.
And the opportunities of that happening is so slim just because the family itself is just, my family's fairly disconnected. I don't have everybody on Sunday evening comes over for dinner and all the kids play and stuff like that. Myself and my brother are the only kids in my immediate family. Um, and so, like, with my aunts, uncles, all that kind of stuff. I only have an uncle, so it was just me and my brother, and then as my brother with his physical and mental disabilities, it's just me. So I've never had that. On the holidays, all the cousins get together, and we would go and spend time with like my grandma's family, and they're all that family where everybody, you just drop the kids off and they go run out in the fields and stuff like that, and I would be
Mhm.
there in the corner with my books and drawing stuff and everything, and nobody would talk to me. And so I thankfully don't have to interact with the majority of that family.
There you go.
Um, but there's been situations where with some family members where I they would just ask me how I am, and I would explain my feelings on certain situations, and I would get attacked, and I wouldn't have family members come to my defense.
Oh,
Um, and I was just kind of left there. Uh, and then I would go to another family member and be like, "Hey, this happened, and I don't know what to do." And then they would go attack the other family member, and then that family member would come back and attack me. And it just became a situation where I just I don't really have deep connections with majority of my family. Because a lot of the time it's either because of a strained relationship with another family member, I just don't have the opportunity to get to know them, or
yeah.
I've just kind of cut them out. Um, and some of them I can't get away from, right? Like some family members you just can't get away from.
My brother, oh my gosh, get him out. He's actually the only
Definitely.
one that I'm closest to. I relate to that. Everyone else I just talk to either on a need basis, some I don't talk to at all, and then of course my parents, I call them up just to check in. Not because I don't love them, but there's not much to say.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like with some family members, I it's just going to turn into an argument, or it's going to just turn
Mhm.
into a moment that I just don't feel good afterwards.
Yeah.
But like I have a tie to them. So
What?
can't really, I don't know, what do you do? What do you do? So with arguments with that, and especially when I've argued with my parents in the past, it always turned out before that I was the kid, I was wrong. And I accepted that when I was younger.
Mhm.
And now that I'm older, I know that I'm not always wrong, right? That I know that in these discussions and arguments and stuff like that, I have valid opinions,
Yeah.
and and so it's an interesting dynamic now, changing from always just accepting that I was wrong in arguments to now standing up for myself and trying to resolve situations, or choosing to walk away from them because I can.
Uh,
And that was like the greatest power. And I think that's one of the greatest that we have in arguments that a lot of people don't utilize, is that not everything needs to be resolved right there, right?
yeah.
That you can walk away. You can ask for time.
Mhm.
Unless I can't even think of a situation where you cannot ask for time. Can you think of one?
I mean, ultimatums that are like, you got to answer now. At that point,
Or
I'm
you
like, no.
lose your job or something like that. In that
Mm.
situation, I would still ask for time
Yeah.
because I feel like I wouldn't be giving them an appropriate answer that I could follow through with, right? I hate
Mhm.
ultimatums. They're not
Same.
fair.
Oh, they're not. They never
I
are.
mean,
It's
literally
always
the
like,
only ultimatum that you is a good one is you're standing there at the line to order your food, and then they need to know right then and there, otherwise you're not getting your food.
there you
Like
go. Do I get the onion rings or the French fries?
yeah.
Oh, which ones?
And the poor 16-year-old kid behind the counter is like, I don't know, ma'am, just pick one.
But which one do you like more? Onion rings, but I don't think I'd like onion rings. Can I
Yeah.
do the French fries? And they're just like, okay.
That I think that's the only time really the ultimatums are good. Otherwise, yeah, I think that you should be allowed to ask for time in any situation, in any argument. Um, because otherwise you might just, say something that you don't mean. And then all that's gonna do is just turn into another future argument.
Yep. That's why I formulate a lot. Want to make sure it's all said now so that we're not coming back to this later.
Exactly. Like I'm gonna be taking notes, stuff
Oh
like
my
that.
gosh, receipts and stuff. And it's just like, well, why didn't you talk to me then?
Yeah.
Like, why has it been 6 months and you still remember the time that I talked over you and it really frustrated you? And we've been having this podcast for so long now, and Sam, why didn't you tell me?
I I tend to reach into the past if I feel like I'm losing an argument.
There you go. Yeah, that
Um
makes
and and that's not good. I know that. Like if
mm,
Ben and I are arguing about something, I'll be like, on this day, do you remember when you did this to me? And he's like, we're talking about laundry. What am I, why are we talking about this some family vacation from 5 years ago that I made you mad about something? We're talking about laundry or something like that. It's, uh, and that's, I think, the frustrating thing is that I know all of the things that I don't do or I don't do that I do that are unhealthy, but in the moment, like, my brain is, I just see red. And that's
Oh
it.
gosh, I've only seen red like 3 times in my marriage, and it's each time has been whenever it was a hot conversation.
Yeah.
Uh, I can't imagine seeing red often.
Yeah,
Actually,
it
not
just,
often, but, like, you know what I mean.
but I don't think that I am hot-headed or I fly off the handle or anything like that. But, like,
I don't
when
think you
I am angry, it it is the forefront of my mind. Like,
Mm,
nothing else is going to get accomplished until I can at least get that anger energy out
yeah.
by doing something, or I can talk to that person and figure it out. So, yeah, I wouldn't consider myself hot-headed or like loose-tempered or anything like that. When I'm mad, I'm mad. Like, there's only black and white when I'm angry. There's no gray.
I
I'm either chill
will
or
not
I'm
cry
just pissed.
you.
Yeah, don't get me mad. When I met uh I moved into a duplex with my best friend and a few other girls in college, and one of the girls was afraid of me because the way that my best friend described me was that I am really, like, I'm just nice, chill person except for when I'm angry. And so she was always afraid of doing something that would upset me, like, you know, loading the dishwasher wrong level. And that kind of
Oh,
like, and I'm like, no, what are you talking? Like, why did you say that to her? That
oh,
she didn't want to spend alone time with me for the first few months that we were living together because she was just so afraid that I was gonna flip and like flip out. And I'm like, no, do you not even know me? And my best friend, she's like, I'm so sorry that that came out that way. And she's like, I don't even know why I was telling them about how you react to things when it wasn't my place to say it. I was like, dang right, it wasn't your place to say it.
thanks for admitting it.
Yeah. Exactly. I need you to accept responsibility that it wasn't your place to say it.
Yeah,
Full circle.
we love that. We
Um,
love a full circle.
what do you do to let your anger out? Like, if you can't let it out with the person, maybe it's just like you're angry at something happening in the world or something like that. How do you release that energy?
I cry. I'm a person that even if I'm in the middle of an argument, if I'm angry enough, I cry. That is my release. Because instead of yelling, I get quiet and it just comes out. And but even like things in the world, it's not that I get angry toward it. I'm very empathetic, and so if I see something that is hurtful, or if I just don't understand why somebody would do that, it frustrates me. But I feel just so overwhelmingly sad that it's even happening. That like people or a situation didn't occur a different way. So yeah, I cry and I get it all out. It's there's really no nothing else. I used to journal if I got
Okay.
sad enough, and I still do occasionally. But in the moment, it's an emotional moment for me before I can then like release thoughts.
Yeah. Like, you hear the
But
people that they go running or stuff like that and just or like work out or everything.
yeah,
I'm not that way. I need to basically like tune my emotions. So I listen to
yeah,
music, or I'll draw, or I'll do art. I'll be creative in some way. And then I usually will, if I'm creative in some way, whether it's the scribble page or I draw something, then I usually just rip it up and throw it away
there you
afterwards
go.
when I'm done. But if I am being confronted, I cry.
Mm.
If I am the person doing the confronting, I'm loud. Because I came in already with this mentality that I am a lion and, whatever. And then, but if I'm confronted, I'm like, I wasn't ready. My brain can't handle this. It's shutting down, and here they go.
You're such a
um,
Leo. I love it.
but when I was younger, I would write. I would journal.
Mm,
I would write poems. And some of the best poems are when you're sad.
they are. But they're also usually sad.
Yeah, and so I had some really intense, good poetry for many years. Um, and now, like, you sit me down and you're like, write a love poem, and I'll be like,
No.
roses are red. Dang it, that one's already done. Like my
Always
brain just can't do it. I don't
I
know.
love
I feel like if I had to pick one thing about reacting
that.
to anger that I would want to fix would be, if I was being confronted, to not be so timid, to not feel like I am being attacked because I am confident in myself. Um, I think that's one thing that in an argument situation, that if I'm not the one that's coming with all of the notes and preparations ahead of time, that I want to be able to be confident enough to stand my ground and not break down.
Copy paste from me.
It's such a frustrating thing. Like, you can't help but cry. But at the same time, you're probably like, I don't want to be crying. Like,
Yeah, I get major anxiety when somebody comes to me or they're like, just, hey, can we talk? And I'm like, I don't know, can I talk right now?
yeah,
What's it about? It's like I've mentioned this on my stream several times, but whenever somebody messages you and they're like, hey, can I ask you something? Or hey, can I talk to you about something? And like they leave it at that, they want your response. And I'm like, no, tell me what it
what it
is.
is.
Like, hey, I need to talk to you about this so that I can process this, formulate my response properly, take a minute to like let the anxiety ease because sometimes these conversations take a toll and I need to be prepared for that toll and not have it sprung on me with, yes, what's up? Because then they know, like, oh, they're here. Because
Yeah.
if they go away, then they're ghosting me. It's like, no, 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 no. I
I
just need a
always
moment.
I always am like, hey, I need to talk to you about something. And then I'll send that and then I'll type it out. So that
Mhm.
way, like, because otherwise I feel like if you just get slammed with this giant paragraph of something, I
Ugh,
get so overwhelmed that I can't read it. I have to read it like 6 times to figure out what in the world they're talking about because I wasn't mentally prepared that something was coming. So I
yeah.
prefer someone to say, not, hey, can we talk sometime or something like that. I need to be someone to be like, hey, I have something I need to talk to you about. Here it is. Send.
Hmm.
And so I had this moment of like, all right, let me get my brain switched over, finish up whatever I need to finish up, and then I can focus on the situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, if anyone just throws a paragraph at me, I'm like, no.
Oh, I'm the opposite. Throw the paragraph at me. I need it.
I remember that.
Because then I can formulate.
Yeah.
So just expect me to be delayed because I need a moment.
Yeah, exactly. There was something else that I was gonna ask in the middle of that. My brain today.
I love your brain today. Your brain is beautiful.
Thanks.
Of course.
What were we talking about? You were saying about
Formulating. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know either. Okay. Nope, nope. Okay. Do you prefer to talk face to face with somebody when you're getting an
Yeah.
apology or an argument?
Yes, I prefer face to face, and if that's not an option, then over the phone. I need to hear vocal tones to determine genuineness and the actual remorse. Like I need to either see it or hear it because typing, I things can be misconstrued. However, there are some situations where I don't want to look at you or hear you. Like, you can say what you need to say, but maybe I need to cool down. Um, and then maybe we can hop on a call and talk about it.
Yeah.
But I feel like it just makes it more personal, and you can see the other person being sincere. Because I am a very forgiving person to the point where it could be a lot of naivety, and I know that. So I don't want to just take things from word value. I need more, personally. What about you?
I usually I want text. I would rather talk about something deep over text first. Um, because then I have a moment to process, to actually read and understand what's going on,
Mhm.
versus having everything thrown at me and my brain just shuts down and I'm like, I don't know what's going on, and I can't, and then all of a sudden the tears start coming like, so I definitely need that moment to of going through text. And then like once the situation is out there, um then I can move on to talking in person. And sometimes Ben and I will, if we have an argument, we'll start that way. Uh, we'll start with that conversation with just like, hey, something's been on my mind, blah, 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 blah. And then we'll talk back and forth a little bit, and then we'll be like, are you ready to talk in person?
Yeah.
Because then I feel like my emotions don't get involved as quickly if I'm able to process it alone, without influence, without that emotion behind people's words and stuff like that.
Mm.
I can take their level of intensity in on my own, and then kind of formulate my plan after that. Um, but if like Ben came up into my office and he's like, "Hey, we need to talk about something," blah 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 blah. Why'd you do this? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. And then I don't feel like I get to say what I want to say. And then afterwards,
Mm.
I'm just replaying the conversation in my head over and over and over again about
Yeah.
how, man, I really should have said this. And oh my gosh, I should have done that. And why didn't I bring this up? And why didn't I tell them that this made me feel this way and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Um, I
I
feel
feel
like
like
I'm,
that's why I like things on the spot almost when it comes to, like, if I need something quickly.
yeah,
Uh
even
because
little, just tell, yeah.
a lot of times you're gonna say most genuinely what you're thinking or saying the first time.
Hmm.
Uh, but at the same time, I don't want to do that either, so I understand.
Yeah.
So it's a toss up. I mean, there are moments I don't want to talk either. I feel you.
Yeah, Queen says my shower head and I have some intense conversations. Same. Same.
Yo, you
Oh
should.
man. There's so many times that I'm in the shower and I'm just like, dang it.
Yeah.
That. Why didn't I say that?
Or you'll think of something that happened 10 years ago and you're just like, man, if I knew then what I know now, I would have been able to come back so much harder.
Right? I think arguing is healthy though. There's so
Yeah.
many, you hear a lot of couples that are like, we never argue. And I'm like, BS. You don't
You
argue.
argue, even if
Yeah.
it's like, we're not saying you full on fist fight,
No.
but like you argue.
I think that I do think that arguing though is healthy in every relationship. Even like with, I honestly believe with your kids too. Teaching your
Mm,
kids how to properly argue
yeah.
is so important. Um and not being compliant or complacent um in situations like that is such a strong thing that you can teach your kids. Because what if they get into a situation that they have a boyfriend or girlfriend that is very strong-willed and argumentative, and they don't know how to stand up for themselves with that? And so Charlie, we talk a lot about compromises.
Mm,
Um, so if I want to do something and he wants to do something else, we talk about what's the compromise that's in the middle that we both get something that we like. Or if he doesn't do, like, he lies to me about making his bed or something like that, then we talk about, okay, well, Why did you lie? Because you didn't want to make your bed? All right. Well, how can we do this in the future then that, you can just make your bed and it's over with and I don't have to come at you for it kind of thing.
Mhm.
And I think that teaching your kids to argue correctly is, yeah,
Yeah.
so important.
Yeah, definitely asking your kids why is important and actually listening to them.
Mhm.
Like, this could be a whole other topic, about children and parenting, but for sure, like, Leif does it all the time. I'm just like, "Hey, did you brush your teeth?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I can hear the lie, and I'm like, "Did you brush your teeth?" And he goes, "No." And it's like, "Well, why didn't you?" And he's just like, "I forgot." And then you ask, "Well, what were you doing that made you forget?" And he's like, "I was playing my game." And so then we talk about, where you need to potentially put those priorities. And if you were to brush your teeth, then you could be playing your game right now instead of having this conversation. So
Charlie
that's
hates
been
that part. I'm like, if you would
yeah.
have just done it, you would have had 10 extra minutes before bed.
We could have just not had to talk about this.
Yeah, Charlie, when he gets put into a situation like that, he becomes silly. He doesn't become remorseful. So if he'll come out and I'll be like, "Did you make your bed when you were in there?" And he'd be like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "You did?" And he's like, "Oh no, I forgot." And then he would just run away. And I was like, "You knew from the moment that you said yes that you were lying to me. You didn't forget. You were just trying to see if I would notice."
Can I outsmart my mom today?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
Leif
tries to
is really
outsmart me
remorseful.
so much.
Uh,
But what's so funny is that a lot of this conversation today comes back to what we've been talking to this whole year,
mm,
practically this whole entire show, right? It's full circle of what is worth it,
yeah.
what's worth your time and your energy. Is being overly upset about something small that could just be squashed right away worth your energy and the strain it puts on a relationship that you have with somebody? Or is it something that you're just like, well, maybe I'll bring it up and we'll have a discussion about it? Or is it worth stewing on something? Is it worth even having that person in your life?
Mm,
Obviously, there's some people that we can't get out of our lives, like family, or
yeah.
if you're divorced and you have children, stuff like that. That's always difficult, and that's like a whole other topic that I can only express from the kid point of view of having a divorced parents, and but it all comes back to like what's worth it, right?
Yep. We're coming all the way
And
around.
that's so weird that everything boils down to what's worth it
Hmm.
and what makes you feel good.
Especially during like this pandemic, I think it's been very important to tune into nowadays, especially what is most important to you. Where are you going to put your energy and your time? Because everybody is kind of stretched thin. And I've had to learn that it's okay to not have to respond to everybody. It's okay to rest. It's okay to have to step away from friendships. Um, Not because you don't want to be friends, but because you can't be a friend right now. Um, and it's just like, as long as you are looking into the things that are potentially hindering you, and working toward bettering those situations, then it'll be worth it. But you got to get to that worth it
Yeah.
for the other things that are worth it.
There's a quote from a movie that all of this kind of sums up. Why is it
Ooh, what
not
is it?
loading? There it is. Oh, we hate pop-ups.
Love those.
Mm,
Beautiful.
There it is. Have you ever seen The Secret Life of Walter Mitty?
No.
It's such a good movie. Oh my gosh. It's one of those movies at the very end that you're just like, you take a moment to really contemplate everything.
Uh-huh.
And the quote from the movie that I absolutely love is to see the world, things dangerous to come to see behind walls, draw closer, to find each other, and to feel that is the purpose of life.
Ooh.
And that's kind of like when we're talking about everything all comes around full circle to it. It's literally that is to experience things and to feel things, whether it's good or bad, and to find the people that you want to feel those things with, and don't mess with anything else that doesn't put you in that situation or in that purpose. Um, it's just one of those things that every once in a while I'll read that. I'll sit down and I'll go through my life and be like, what relationships am I not getting that from?
Mm.
And why? Is it because
Yeah.
I'm not doing it? Is it because they're not doing it? Is it because it just isn't worth it or working?
Well, I'll
But
let you know now. It's because I'm not doing it. I'm sorry.
we've talked about my passive friendship. So
I
for
love it.
right now, I'm the best kind of friend that you need. If you don't have, and this is not you in general, but or not you specifically, but you in general out there in the world, if you don't have the energy to be a full-time friend, you need someone like me to be your friend. That's such a passive friend in the first place.
Same. I'm an easy friend. I don't need to talk all the time. Maybe
Yeah.
like a, hey, love you, thinking of you, hope you good. And I'm like, ah, same.
Yeah. Sometimes I don't even like that. Like when it comes out of the blue from somebody I haven't talked to in a long time. If they're like, "Hey, just checking in. I hope you're
Oh, yeah.
good," and stuff like that, and I'm like, I don't I don't want that because now I feel like I have to respond to it. Instead, I
Yeah.
would just rather have a friend come to me and be like, "Hey, this thing totally happened and it made me think of you. It's hilarious or it's
Oh,
whatever or I learned this kind of thing." But people that are just like, "Hey, I hope you're doing well." You can't just leave that, right? Or can you?
yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I'm obligated to turn around and be like, I'm good. How are you? And now I'm stuck in this conversation that I didn't want to be in the first place.
Oh,
And
I'm the
I'm such,
opposite. I don't feel obligated. I won't respond. I will respond whenever I have like the moment. Like it feels good, and sure they don't know that I feel good from it,
yeah.
and that is a problem. But I mean, I feel like that's why you and I work so well is because we know each other is busy, and we're not like we don't send a text and hold on and are just like, why aren't you responding?
Yeah.
I know you have your phone, and it's like,
I try to very sparingly use texts to you because I know that's one of the things that you get notifications for.
mhm.
So unless it's something that I needed like a response, not immediately, but at least
Yeah.
in your viewfinder, I will text you. Otherwise, most of the time I'll message you like on Twitter or Discord or whatever. And I know that's so
Mhm.
confusing to being talking to somebody on multiple platforms, but I kind of
It works for
try to
us.
use texts
I appreciate that
as the
thoughtfulness.
beacon almost.
Yeah, well, because it is. I will get notified. It still doesn't mean that I can respond right away. Like maybe I'm in a meeting or something,
Right.
but I see it and I'm like, okay, I need to get to that later.
Yeah, that's almost like, a take the number thing at the DMV kind of thing. That's how I kind of imagine text with you
Yeah.
is that's like a take the number. I know that you will see it sooner than later and I know I'll be put on your list somewhere in there.
Yeah,
And
everyone who doesn't have my number but is trying to reach me, I'm sorry. I have very limited people that can actually contact me.
but I so many times will get messages from people that are just like or phone calls from people that are like, "Hey, I haven't talked to you in a long time. How you doing?" And I'm like, I right now I'm frustrated because you're putting me on the spot. But then at the same time, like I always try to make sure that I don't do that to my friends as well. I don't usually try to send them a message that's just like, "Hey, I hope you're doing good," because it's the same kind of thing. Is yeah,
Mhm. Uh, I always tell myself I'll get better at responding, but like the thing is, I don't want to
right.
because that takes so much out of me. So, no. I'll get to it when I can.
So we're towards the end of our show, and if you guys have, I
Mhm.
know we've kind of like moved into something a little bit bigger and broader at towards the end of this. But if you guys have questions about our topic of apologies and how you want to accept apologies or give apologies, or your fighting style or anger, throw them out here, and then we
Yeah,
will take a look at them. Uh,
ask us questions.
Laughing
This
at
is
the
a really
DMV
good
lines. I'm
chat,
so glad most of the stuff is online now that we don't have to
right?
do that. Except, you know what? I need to
What?
renew my library card, and I can't do that online.
Oh no.
I'm so
You gotta
mad.
go in and gotta schedule a day for it.
Yeah. And
It
like
was like,
go into the library. And then since I'm there, I'm just gonna take my time and go find books there. Take them home then instead of having to
there
put
you
them
go.
online and wait 5 days for them to get picked up for me.
Can I just say, for us both having like super brain foggy mornings, this is a good conversation. This is a good
That's why
chat,
we
y'all.
steered very off of our topic towards the end.
And you know what? That's
It's
okay.
okay. How do you
I think it
handle
all works.
having a different apology than a thing than a friend? Oh, okay. So like let's say Sam wanted the repent and I wanted the accept responsibility. Um I think it's you I guess we just have to kind of read the room,
Mm.
right? Because I don't think I would want somebody to come up to me and be like, "How do you want to be apologized to today?"
Yeah, no, that's like back in the "Can you forgive me?" also.
Right. So I think, yeah, I would start with my own personal apology language because that's
Mhm.
the one that I'm the most comfortable with. So I would, if let's say I totally forgot to meet Sam up for a movie night or something like that, I would message her and be like, "Yo, I'm sorry, I forgot about our movie night." And that would be where I left it. I wouldn't have any excuses put in there, and that would be it. And then if Sam was just like, "Oh, okay, well, it really hurt me," then I'd be like, "Oh, yes, okay, let's continue this conversation then," because obviously that wasn't enough for her. um,
Or you could also be like, I mean, this also is dependent on the person. But if I needed to apologize to you and be like, I would text you maybe and be like, "Hey, I need to apologize." Uh and start with that and just kind of go just so you know like something's coming.
yeah.
Prepare ya. And then like send it out and then depending on your response, kind of go from there. You just read the room, feed off the people. And hopefully the people that you're talking to are people that are already knowledgeable in your life of like who you are, and you have an idea of who they are and how they respond. But also, don't be afraid to tell people what you need as well during that apology. Be like, I need you to go tell this person sorry that you also hurt during this.
Yeah.
Like that will help me, or something like that.
This is one that kind of pertains to me a little bit too. A guy that bullied me all throughout high school and even years after it apologized to me recently. I don't know if I should accept it or not. What should I do? I saw a thing from a parenting account that I follow on Instagram that how to explain bullying to your kids. And
Mm.
one time, the first time, if it is unintentional, then it's just rude. If it happens and it's intentional, then it's mean. If it happens multiple times and it's intentional, it's bullying. So, like, if a
Mm.
kid pushes you once on purpose, they're just mean. If you tell them that, yo, that hurt me, that made me feel bad, whatever, and they do it again, now they're bullying. If it's the first time, it's they're just mean and you need to check them, and if they accept it and move on and then they don't do it ever again, they were, one of those things, they were just having a
Yeah.
bad day, they were, whatever, there was a misunderstanding or something like that. And I think that in my situation, I don't think that if they apologized to me, whether I searched for it or they came out, that I would actually be able to forgive them if it was a
Yeah.
bullying situation.
That reminds me of like people that weren't always the kindest to me in high school now asking me for tips with streaming.
Do you think that your husband would want to play Fortnite with my kid?
Sam, can you help me out?
You
I
spoke
don't
like
know.
10 words to me in high school. What do you think?
Where was that olive branch when I needed it?
No. I had somebody at one of my high school reunions that was like, your husband should totally play with my kid. He's 7, but he's like amazing and he's competed in all these tournaments and he's like in the top 100. And me being, because I knew that she had no clue what she was talking about. So me being like,
Yeah.
oh, what's his username? And then I went to the bathroom and looked it up and nowhere is this kid's username. But I never talked to her. She wasn't like mean to me, but she definitely paid no attention to my existence.
Mhm.
But
People
because I
just want
had something,
stuff now. Yeah.
yeah, then all of a sudden it was just like but I think that that's a personal thing. Does it affect your life today? Does that person still affect your life today? If
No.
not, then I don't think that you are required to forgive them and bring them back into your life. Um, that's my personal opinion. How would you handle
Yeah.
that?
Um, I mean, it's just like I was saying, people that message you, I don't. I honestly just don't respond
Yeah.
because
I
I'm just
mean,
like, oh, I mean, it doesn't do anything for me, and this is the first interaction we've had in a decade.
yeah.
Uh, I mean, it's just hollow. Like it's a hollow conversation of you have something I could get benefit from.
Hmm.
So help me. And I'm just like, as much as I want to help people, that's not a charity case.
Yeah.
Like at that point, you got to work hard. You got to prove to me that you're working hard, and then maybe one day I'll be like, oh my gosh, that's somebody that I knew from high school.
Yeah.
Like,
And
good
then you
job.
could initiate a conversation with them after that, I think.
Yeah.
I think somebody like that. I guess I had a very similar situation. I just really kind of pulled out of the deep recesses of my mind. Is I had a boyfriend in high school that was very mentally abusing and or abusive, and he went away, got sent away because of how he treated me, among other things in his life, and randomly I got a letter in the mail for him apologizing. And
Letter in the
then,
mail.
yeah, because with the program that
Oh.
he was in, he had to write a letter to the people that he wronged that got him into that situation. So his dad called me
Oh.
and was just like, "Hey, so and so wants to send you this letter and will you accept it?" And I was like, "I guess." Like, I'm curious what
Yeah.
this letter is going to be for, what can you say in this letter? um and when I got it, I was like, I read it and I said, it doesn't change a single thing. Funny thing is then 2 months later, he showed up at my college.
Fun.
Yeah. And then started becoming friends with my friends again from high school. And I was like, nope,
Yeah.
nope, nope, nope. And I still get friend requests every once in a while on Facebook from him. And I just let them sit there. And eventually I can't stand seeing his face in the corner. So I just delete him. And then he figures it out and sends me another one. And it's just like, just go away.
What I love is people unfriending you on Facebook from many moons ago who are now trying to add you again. And I'm like, you people are silly.
My favorite is the person. We'll come back to the questions here in a second, but this is a very recent thing to me, and maybe you can help me figure this out too. And I
Okay.
guess I could just block this person. Like I don't care how they feel
Okay.
for what they did to me as a very young kid. Um, that there's never been an apology. There was never a moment of taking responsibility,
Mm.
and he just keeps adding me because we have mutual friends and he knows who I am. We grew up together.
Okay.
And I just keep deleting it. But for some reason, I feel bad for just blocking him because I'm afraid that like someone's going to be like, so and so reached out to me. Why'd you block him? And then I have to bring up this whole entire situation. I don't know what to do.
Is this like a friend request that keeps happening over and
Yeah.
over?
For
Uh,
like the past year.
so the best advice that I have is don't respond to the friend request. Don't reject it or
But
accept
then
accept it.
it sits on my sidebar and then I see
I
his
know.
face.
I have over 300 friend requests.
Oh my
I just let them
gosh.
pile up. So that's the only advice that I have because I don't want to keep getting the pings, but I also don't want to block them. So
Yeah, but
just
why am I
sitting
afraid?
there. You know
Poor
what?
guy.
That's a good question to ask you. Why are you afraid?
No, no.
What value would it bring to your life?
Saying it out loud just made me sound like a fool.
Do it. Block. Smash
Uh,
that. Push the button.
it's just so uncomfortable. Block. Just see his face. No longer be able to see posts in your timeline, tag you, invite you to events or groups, message you, or add you as a friend. Confirm.
Woo! High
We
five.
did it, fam. We did it. No, go away.
I'm proud of you. And if you get awkward messages that are just like, why do this? Block that too.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need that in your life. If it's giving you this much thought over something that should not, get it out of your life. You don't need that. Is it
Yeah.
worth it?
Also, the best thing just came up after I came out of that screen onto my homepage is that today is my nephew's 17-year-old birthday.
Aw.
My twin nephew's birthday today. There's pictures of them, and man, they're just so handsome and
Yeah,
lovely, and I
yeah.
just want to hug them, and I'm so sad I can't see them very often.
One day again.
All right.
Oh my word. It is that time, my
Yes.
friend.
Thank you. You do not owe anyone an explanation. Do we have time for one more since I took that over? But I really needed to figure that out.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you, everybody in here, for listening to me. Are there any other questions as I'm skimming through? All of a sudden now everyone's encouraging me to block him.
That's right. We're all
If it's not worth
supportive
your time, it
friends.
doesn't need to be there. Right. I keep talking about subtle art, not giving an F. And I don't give an F about that person. They bring no positive to my life. Maybe we should just end on that note. That I finally, after years, the last time I saw this person in person, I was probably 10, 11-ish, maybe slightly younger than that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And this has been following me ever since.
A hot minute.
No more. Next time he's gonna try. Oh, that means if I have him blocked. I'm curious. That's the thing, is I'm curious if he like searches for my name, or am I just showing up under the people you may know? Because now I won't show up underneath his people you may know anymore.
There you go.
Sweet.
We'll see.
It won't show up at all. Yes. Watch for alt accounts and block that too. I just really hope.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. If somebody tries to again,
I don't really add anybody. I think I have 3 people or 4 people from the streaming community on my personal Facebook. Otherwise, I even gone through and started deleting. I deleted almost all of my groups, liked pages, everything.
Same.
And I'm now deleting friend requests and stuff, or like not friend requests, but just friends, people that I haven't talked to in the past 5 years that I don't need a connection to for some reason or another. I'm just, as long as I'm part of our high school reunion Facebook group page, then, you know, I can get invited to the high school reunions.
You're just decluttering.
You're like, yes, digital decluttering. All right.
Yeah. Well, this was a good chat, y'all.
Yeah.
Thank you for episode 11.
Double wins.
We were
Remember
fighting.
this week to notice your predictable rhythms.
Notice
the things that make you happy or make you unhappy. What can you do to change them? Obviously, I just did one of them, my predictable rhythm of opening up Facebook and seeing its face there.
And now you're getting a joy from it, I hope.
I am. I'm like on a little bit of an adrenaline high right now.
Nice. That's what we like.
Yay! Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. We will be back next week.
We shall.
Have a great day, guys, and then we will let you go for burp the weekend.
That's right. Burp the weekend.
Okay, bye.